Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Yes, welcome to episode 116. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again, and we do have a guest tonight. We have a special guest, and she comes to us from the Zap Cristal TV channel. So you can find her on YouTube, you can find her streaming over on Twitch. So Zap, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Excited to have you on. Number one, let me say congrats on your milestone, 2,000 subs. That's awesome. And yeah, I think you're just killing it across the board on all platforms. But I saw that milestone, and I know every milestone means so much. So I'm loving the channel. But yeah, before we go any further, is there anywhere else you want to plug away that we might have missed? And we will have all the links below.
No, y'all covered it really well. It's a Zap Cristal on YouTube, and the same goes on twitch.tv/ZapCristal, and that's our main platform for live streaming. Though we sometimes do multi-stream on both platforms, so yeah.
Nice. So, Zap, one of the things I noticed with your channel, and it right away drew me, even in your description, talking about how you're someone who loves the 90s stuff, and if you watch your reviews and some of your live streams, it definitely ranges. It's retro, some newer stuff, and you got a beautiful collection of arcade cabinets behind you, and just an awesome collection, which, if I have the link to her description in her room tour,
yeah, she's kind of shown up my old little arcade.
Yeah, Jim, your little Galaga isn't doing much. And I can't talk because I don't got any, but that honestly inspired me. I was like, man, I really would love that idea. How early, did you start playing games and you knew, this is something, it's not just going to be a hobby. I'm just going to be doing this from here on out.
It all started as family traditions. You know how every family has their own traditions. Some do gardening, some do cooking, some are, come out from a family of musicians. My family are all gamers, hardcore gamers, and it was taught in a way that when it came to gaming, it wasn't just your own separate independent time. It was more of family time. It's when everybody got together and with undivided attention, and we were all there to have fun. That's it. And the main reason why we were passed down this tradition was because my dad is a musician, and my dad was barely at home. So the times that he was at home, he needed an activity that he knew he could connect with us, and that's where gaming came in. So obviously we started with the NES. But even before the NES, we started with arcades. That's why I love arcades, because, where my dad would take us was to the arcades. And I have so many memories, like bringing those big jars of quarters, and once you used up all your quarters, then it was time to go back home, and yeah, everywhere we went, Dad was very intentional. If it was even to a pizza restaurant, he would make sure there was an arcade cabinet or there was something gaming related there, where we can just go and have fun. So it all started by like that, and not only by my dad, but also by my mom. My mom actually is a gamer too, and my mom, she got really into N64, and it was mainly because of Super Mario Party. So those were those typical games that we can all sit together in the living room and play together. And man, it was fun. I had so many good memories just playing with my mom and my brother, fighting over the controllers, because back in the day, there was only one console. Yep. And if you had a bunch of siblings, mom set the rules, but they weren't always followed. And I remember smacking my brother in the
Oh, yeah.
Look, you gotta win, right?
Yeah, I was like, because my mom was this type of person that she was like, you have an hour to play, and once your hour is up, you need to pass the controller to your sister so your sister can have her time to play. But that never happened. So so sometimes my brother cheated, and I would do what is unforgivable sometimes. I would just remove that cartridge without him being able to save or
you dirtbag.
I would go on a whole next level. I was like, you didn't let me play? I'm gonna get my revenge.
I like that tactic. And number one, I love that story. I mean, growing up, like Jim and I think we've mentioned like our family stories, but it's nothing compared to yours in terms of having it be that family time. But doing that, I was going to say, did that also kind of ingrain in you, even though it was family time, a lot more competitiveness? Because you are going against your brother. So, like, you can't be the worst in the household. So, you got to really compete.
That was like legit the whole environment at home. It was pure competitive. They were like, yo, guess what? I beat Contra. I'm like, yo, what's up? I guess I can beat you better. How much was your it was always that thing. I think it's because I grew up around, guys all the time. It's just natural for me, that competitiveness. Like I always, and it's not even competing with no one. It's actually like competing more with myself because like, let's say I got this high score, and on Dig Dug, I'm like, okay, that's good. Can I do it better? Can I surpass that high score? Let me do it next time. Let's see how far I can get, and it's always like, I'm never truly satisfied and I just want to get better to the point that now my addiction has been kind of trying to do speed runs. Because if I know a game really well, I'm like, okay, can I really beat this game? And how many hours are we talking about? Can I like right now I have this guy that he was like, he knows I love Luigi's Mansion. This is one of my favorite games. And I've played it God knows how many times. I know this game by heart. And he was like, well, I'm gonna set you a challenge. He said, can you beat Luigi's Mansion in 4 hours? So I was like, I think I can do it. So now I'm trying to set this challenge of, can I beat Luigi's Mansion in 4 hours? Which is hard because speedrunning is a whole different field. It's not just like sitting down and playing. Like you got to know the tricks. You got to almost know how to break the game in order to do that speed run. So.
Oh yeah, that's pixel memorization right there. They get crazy with that crap.
It's yeah.
The speedrunning idea we've talked about many times. I said at that point, you're like the enjoyment of the game is out the window. It is like more of a mathematical, like, you're like just now so focused. You're not even looking at the pixels on there. You're looking at all those patterns. Like, and I remember the craziest thing when I don't know if either of you ever watched that, The King of Kong, the thing about Steve Weeb and Billy Mitchell. So
I watch it completely, to be honest.
Great documentary, obviously, when Steve Weeb had won or like set the world record for Donkey Kong. But like you saw him with the arcade cabinet and he actually had an overlay to draw the pattern. So like that mentality, when you get into that, that's a next level, like you said, competitiveness with yourself. But has that competitiveness now led on, like right now with you and Mr. Rightway, like you guys, you have a friendly competition, or is it more certain games you can't play together because it's going to turn into an argument?
I honestly, I think that we get along so well because of that. Because we're both competitive by nature. Like I'm not saying that neither of one of us are dominant. You know how everybody says that in the household there's like one that is more dominant than the other. I would say that in our household that's not a thing. Just because even though we both enjoy gaming, we both enjoy it differently. Like he enjoys it from a collector standpoint, while I enjoy it just because of the simple pleasure of the enjoyment of it, as a gamer. So when it comes to gaming, we both see things very, very differently, which helps a lot. Because it's always, I say that it's always healthy in a video, especially in discussions, that you always have different points of view, because it helps open the mindset of the audience to see how the world thinks about certain subjects. Because if it's always a one-way opinion, then it's like, well, that's misrepresenting the community because not everyone thinks the same way. So just having that open space of seeing these different point of views for a lot of stuff, even like for collecting.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like some of our most positively received videos are when Brian and me completely disagree on a game that we review and stuff like that, and go back and forth and give our points for and against it and stuff like that. People like to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think it's good. I think we should have more videos like that because honestly, it would be a very boring world if everybody agreed on the same things, you know? Like, I wouldn't want to watch a video like that.
Yeah, that's one of the ones. It's funny. We always have a recurring, and we'll have later. But like we talk overrated, underrated of a certain game, and when we end up agreeing, I'm always shocked because we generally do disagree on a lot. I mean, Jim's usually wrong all the time.
Son of a bitch.
But I mean, no, it is one of those things. When we do agree, I'm like, well, what do we say now? Like, damn, okay, I guess we both like it.
Well,
so,
this episode ends early.
I like that though. No, that sounds good because that would probably be a bit tougher if you both were super competitive and like that.
And I'm not saying like we're not competitive against each other, but I think it's in a healthy way because we kind of force ourselves to step out of our comfort zone and actually see growth, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's not two individuals. I know it kind of sounds cliche, but I mean, it's the truth. We're married, so we're a team, you know? We can't compete against each other because it would be like harming ourselves. You know, so if we want to grow, we have to agree and be a team to help both of us grow. So that's the way we see it, you know, like, we're going to be competitive, but we're going to be competitive in a way that both of us actually can grow together as a team.
Yeah. Now let me ask you though, if there was a game that you knew you could beat them in, what's it going to be?
Oh, holy shoot. I can probably say, oh shoot, y'all, you're putting it hard for me right now. Because there's like two of them right now that I'm actually thinking of. Cuphead, that would be one.
Ooh.
Cuphead. And number two, I think would be like, I'm not really into fighting games, but there is one or two that I actually enjoy. One of them is Virtual Fighters.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think Man's fighting game.
Yeah, I think I could beat his Tushy on that one.
I love it. Well, I noticed from your collection video when you were talking about the Mortal Kombat 2, he had to work on that to get it working. And so it sounded like, though, that was kind of his like prized possession almost. That particular cabinet. So I know that seems to be what he was more into. And I was going to ask you as a follow-up, you know, seeing those cabinets, seeing your collection, obviously I haven't seen everything, but is there something that's like your coveted, like this is one of your most favorite parts of your collection that you have throughout the house?
Shoot. I'm looking right now at my collection. That's hard, man, because I got a lot of favorite stuff. I can't choose one. Damn, you put it hard for me. Honestly, it sounds so cliche again, and it probably is not even rare or expensive, but my most praised item in my collection is my McDonald Flintstone mugs. I love my McDonald Flintstone mugs, mainly because, and that's why I say he and I are so different, because he enjoys the thrill and the hunt, you know, but he, at the end of the day, he collects anything. Me, on the other hand, like every single item I have in my collection has an emotional attachment or some sort of memory to it. Like, so the majority of the stuff I have is things that I actually owned as a kid. And my McDonald Flintstone mugs is one of them. You know, I had them as a kid. And I lost them because we moved so much because, like I said, my dad was a musician. So you never was in one place. You know, we were constantly moving from state to state. So things are going to get lost, you know. And unfortunately, I lost those things. But like 2 years ago, I got to recover them. And the feeling of just recovering something that, you know, you've longed for so long, it's just such a satisfaction that you can't even describe. Like, I'm not gonna even lie, bro. I teared up when I got them because I was like, oh my God, I got them again. I could put Coca-Cola in them with ice or stuff like that.
It brings back all the memories. And that's actually why I asked, because I saw your collection videos. I mean, I saw the Back to the Future, the Flintstones. And seeing that you do tie the sentimental, I'm the same way. Like Jim sounds like Steve all the way. Like, oh, if it's available, I find it, I get it. Me, I have a much smaller collection behind me, so
deal's a deal. What can I say?
And it's cool. It's cool. That's why I think every collection is so unique, and that's why I'm actually I'm proud of my series Treasures from My Childhood, because I want to encourage that. Like that's the main goal of the videos. Is you're so used to when going on YouTube seeing these all factors. You know what I mean? These
Oh, yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
humongous collections, and it's generally from this standpoint. You know what I mean? From this point of view of collectors that collect anything, which I'm not saying is bad. But I'm like, let me try to encourage other collectors that maybe as I, collect with a more emotional attachment to it to so they can see it as it's okay. If you have a small collection, it's okay. Be proud of it. It's your collection. It doesn't matter what other people think about it. You collect for your own enjoyment. So just showcase it to the world so everybody can see what you're into, you know? So yeah, I never devalue somebody's collection, due to its size or what they collect. I just think that that's something so personal, that's just their world, that's their happiness. So why judge it?
No, I agree 100%. I think too often that, like you just pointed out, the wow factor, especially we see a lot of like, when you see content creators who are like, are they collecting just so they can now get a video out of it? Is it just the value of the game? Or is it like, hey, I have a stack of 12 things of Switch games, like 100 deep? Are you really doing that because you love all those games, or do you want that photo with all the games? Like you said, you and me, Zap, sound more similar. I'm much more, I want games that I couldn't get when I was a kid for one reason or another, or games I used to have and very stupidly I sold off or did something, and now I'm trying to recover that little piece of like nostalgia. So yeah, I go back with that. And
yeah,
yeah,
I literally got I don't know if you're like me, but I got a wish list here on my notes on my phone where I type down all the stuff I'm on the hunt, that as soon as I find them, I'm gonna pick them up.
Hey, I still have, I'm missing 3 of the original Goosebump books to complete my collection from when I was a kid, because I had all of them as a kid, and somehow I missed like 10 of them. So I'm just like trying to hunt down those last 3
I
without paying.
love the Goosebumps. Oh my God. I need to add that to my wish list.
That's what got me reading, so I can't complain.
Bro, we read so much back in the day.
Yep. Going to those, what the hell are those things called at school? The Scholastic Fairs or something?
Rainbow,
the book fairs.
Reading Rainbow or something like that.
Yeah, you go
yeah.
in, I got my $5. I'm like, I'm going to get new Goosebumps and an eraser.
Yeah, I was always the bro, I'm dating myself right now. The Magic School Bus and all that stuff. Y'all
Yep.
remember?
Oh yeah, you're right with us there.
Shit, what was the teacher's name? It was Miss...
Bro, I don't remember.
Oh,
her
that's
name.
killing me. Because my
I
son,
forget.
my son, when he was a baby, like that was one of the shows I could show him, and like he actually got into. So I was rewatching that like through him again, and I'm doing the same things. Like I show him Scooby Doo now. He's older, like so. Yeah,
Bri, that would be one Miss Valerie Frizzle.
that's Frizzle. That's right.
Oh, Miss Frizzle. Yes. Bro, it's impossible to remember her name at this point.
See, Bri, you're obviously not on Twitter enough because you don't see the arguments of people saying her ass is in a dump truck enough. So with the new
Jim.
reboots,
Jim,
this
I
is
don't
the
want to
shit. This
be
is
in
the
those
shit I have to see as the
conversations.
social media guy.
But I think
This is my cross to bear.
I think that's why I treasure so much my collection too, because I think that, based on my family background, now I'm actually finding myself doing the same thing for my son. I'm trying to pass down this tradition to him.
Yeah.
So not only I'm collecting for myself, I'm also collecting for him, because like it now we do things that maybe not everyone does, and I just do it with him. Like for example, we have our VHS nights, because I have so many
Nice.
VHS, and I teach him, I'm like, hey, there was no such thing as Netflix or, YouTube or just some sort of live stream platform. This is like way before DVDs even existed. So I'm like, I'm going to show you how we actually watched a movie back in the day with its commercials and everything. And my son loves it, because my son sits down and he's like, yo, Mom, that's what you needed to watch? No wonder y'all could go and get popcorn and all that stuff. And it was like, so he's getting to see that, that experience of how I grew up. And he actually has more respect for it and enjoys cartoons that maybe kids from his age won't even know what it is. Like he loves the Rugrats. He enjoys the Rugrats. 2 days ago, we watched 101 Dalmatians. he truly enjoyed the movie. And like from time to time, I just exposed him to these classics that otherwise, kids nowadays wouldn't even know
They won't
what
see.
these movies are.
And that's a good thing too, that like you get them to appreciate the older kind of stuff, because like a recent discourse like the last week was like they showed the Horizon Zero Dawn trailer and it was locked at 30 frames per second on the PS5 and everyone was like freaking out like 30 frames, this is unplayable. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, you don't goddamn know. I own a Philips CDI. You show me 30 frames per second and I will kiss your feet, goddamn it.
Y'all don't even know what a payphone and a beeper is.
Exactly. When you get that 911,
spoiled
you
pieces of
sprint. No,
30 frames isn't playable.
I
Blech.
love that, Zap. But Jim and I talked, and we said as a thing, like if our kids are ever like, we want a new game, we're gonna be mean though and be like, all right, here's Silver Surfer, you gotta beat that, or like give them some really tough NES. Be like, you beat that, you get that new game. See how you do on that first.
Well, you know what? Steve has actually a really good system, and I'm not saying that y'all should do it with your kids, but because we have so many games in our game room, and we're exposing him to like consoles he never grew up with, like the Xbox 360 and all that.
Right.
If he wants a game, he has to like borrow it. It's almost like going to Blockbuster almost.
Ooh, a rental. Okay.
Yeah, like a rental. So he'll go to the room and he has to ask for the game and plays a couple of days, but then he got to return it.
I love that.
And it's kind of like teaching him, to
idea.
be responsible, but also like he has that freedom to experience things that otherwise he wouldn't have been able to experience before. So I think that's really cool because it takes away that kind of sketchiness that people put on collectors, that greediness of, oh, don't touch my stuff, this is my things, this is my collection.
Jim.
And kind of open up, to the
I just
family.
ask that you don't switch around my cards from their cases, Brian. I don't care if you want to pull something off the shelf and play it. Just don't let me have a night where I come downstairs and go, oh, I want to play this game, and I open it up and it's something else, and then I look around and go, oh fuck, this could be in 1,000 different cases right now. Now my OCD's going crazy, and now I'm having a breakdown.
But Jim, that's part of the fun.
No, it's not fun,
Hide and
Brian.
go
You're a
seek.
dick.
That's one of those. That is one of the things when I see collectors. Like I'm one of those. Like me and my brother used to.
Assholes, right?
We used to prank each other, and it's fun. And I'm sorry, the look of sheer panic on a grown man's face when he can't find one cart in 1,000 game collection.
I just want to enjoy my night. Fuck.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You got other stuff you can do.
But I wanted to play that one. You fucking
But then I'm playing my game because then you can go hunt for
yeah,
it.
and your game sucks.
No, I think Zap. The interesting thing is, with your kid, I thought with the collection between the two of you, like, is he ever gonna want a new game? Like, you guys have so much. Like
He's gonna have the
Yeah.
schoolyard. He's gonna have the schoolyard games he's got to talk
that's
about.
true, of course.
Yeah, I honestly he's developing a preference that is, I don't know, it kind of surprises me because a part of Minecraft and all the popular games that the kids play nowadays,
Yeah.
like he likes now recently like Need for Speed, and
Nice.
and I'm like, oh, okay, I see, he's developing a taste there, and I even let him watch certain horror games, not everything, but he kind of into that genre. So every time, like recently I played Little Nightmares, Little Nightmares has that creepiness. He sat all the way through that game and watched me play it. He probably won't ever play it, but he enjoys watching me play it. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of starting to have an idea, like, what games are you into that we can probably play together and enjoy? Because I just think it's interesting because it's a whole different world. Just because it's my kid doesn't mean I know him totally. Like, no, I'm like every day I discover something new about him. And I'm like, I didn't know this about you.
Yeah,
You
like
know.
you said, going through that age, man, it's like he doesn't know what he wants day to day. So yeah, his taste is gonna change, and the horror game thing. It's funny when I was asking you about your collection. It's not expensive at all. For me, it's always going to be my Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut game because that was a game that really solidified me in horror games. I love zombies, like all these things. Me and my best friend, we'd stay up all night long, like playing it. And it's one of those things where, I think I was 12 or 13. And yeah,
wow.
that's like where I feel like that peak nostalgia hits for people. Like whatever system you had at those ages are the ones you really crave for,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be 12 now, so yeah, I think he's right at that point already. Yeah.
Need for Speed. Oh man, if he's anything like me and my best friend, we got into car games, and then all we could do is want to actually have cars like that as we grew up. So,
Well, you got a mom already that's like that, so. Because, boy, I want my Mustang one of these days.
yeah, no, I definitely hear that, but that's awesome though. Like I said, that's the thing I look forward to. Same. I gave my son I let him play on the little, what is it, Jim? I have that little white 12-inch TV, the Panasonic.
Oh yeah, you got that little CRT, yeah.
Little one, and I have one of those Atari flashback, and literally I have him trying those out. And
Is that like the plug-in play ones?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's literally all the like original classic, like Breakout, Centipede, all of them, and he's never been exposed to a video game, so he does that, and he's like, oh, and wonder. I know as he gets older, that's going to go out the window, but right now it's like cute because he's just learning how to use the controller. So,
Which
yeah.
is the most easiest thing, but then the most complex at the same
whew.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd be surprised what one button in a stick could lead to.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's good. And that's my main goal for my channel too, that I'm not only thinking about like us because we're already grown up, but sometimes I think to myself, like, not to be like, pessimistic, but I mean, it's the truth. I'm like, after we pass away or we're no longer here, I'm like, what about the newer generations? Like, if we don't expose them to the retro, to these things, like, who's going to carry it on? Because if they don't
Our
understand,
prized
they
possessions go in a dumpster. That's what's
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
happen.
It's just going to go to the dumpster because they're not going to value it if they didn't receive a proper education about it. They're just going to see like, oh yeah, dad just went crazy for these piece of trash. I'll just throw it away,
What's a CDI? We don't need this, right? Jim?
You do? God damn it.
Now,
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think that if you are a collector, like me and Steve, we've been discussing about this lately, you should have some sort of will or at least some sort of document that, and also like give a proper education to your family of, hey, if this happens, this is what you got to do. And these are like the top games out of this entire collection that are worth this. And this is what you
Just
got to
in
do.
case,
And
yeah.
just
Yeah.
in case, because I mean, it doesn't hurt,
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how many stories you hear of like someone passing and then a mother, a grandmother, somebody selling off a collection. They're like selling a game that should be a couple $100 for like $2. And it's just
Yep.
one of those sad situations, but
Yeah.
it's what happens.
Even like that guy, and it's not even about games, but did you see that news recently about an elderly that passed away and all he collected was baseball cards? And he had baseball cards like way dated back in 1920 or the 1930s around
It
like
was a crazy collection, yeah.
I think it was like a whole truck or a whole van that just filled with boxes of just baseball cards. I was like, oh my God.
He probably had the Honus Wagner and the ones that actually still have value and all that too.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's insane.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That is a really good thought. I mean, as collectors, I didn't think about that deep, but no, that's a great point. But the question is now, so like you're introducing him, but for you, I noticed from your channel, most recently, it looked like it's from Twitch. You just started Resident Evil 7. Mm-hmm. But is that right now the main game you've been playing through, or do you like not only have games you stream, do you have other games you're playing on the side currently?
That's not the only game I'm streaming. I generally always carry out like a different theme for every month. So like if it's October, let's say, we have what we call our spookathon. Okay. So for every weekend we'll play, a spooky related game. And we'll carry out that theme, and the same goes like maybe for Christmas, like we'll play like Christmas cringy games, that have like Christmas topics to it, just to make it fun and switch it up. But honestly, my streams on Twitch are best known for like the community night streams because I like to play a lot of games where I can engage with them online. So we'll have our Mario Kart nights, we'll have our Jack in the Box party nights. And I'm always trying to add games to that list, like Family Feud is another one.
Yeah.
Where we could just fool around and have a good time and just engage with the community. And then we have what I call my full campaigns where I go like deep dive into a game and I won't stop until I 100%
that game. So Resident Evil 7 is one of them that I just deep dived into it, and my goal is to 100% it live on Twitch. And I've 100% already so many games. Like I just finished recently Inside, which is an indie game. Great game. I finished Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I 100% it as well. Bendy and the Ink Machine. And then sometimes I collab with other content creators like Absolute Katie. She's a streamer on Twitch, amazing friend. And they do what they call the NES Marathon, where you play the top 20 NES games, and you got to complete different challenges or even speed run through them. And I joined last year. And then just got exposed to a bunch of games that I never played in my life, and just got experienced them through the NES Marathon. So yeah, it's always different. I try to keep it between a mesh between retro and modern, because my goal is to like teach my audience like I'm not just into retro. I enjoy gaming in general. So it doesn't matter if it's retro or modern. I'm just there for the sake of gaming, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, from all the games you just named, you couldn't have gone from a more different genre to genre. And yeah, I did when Resident Evil 7 came out, because that's my favorite series. Like, I played that. That was one of my first games I live streamed the whole way. And yeah, enjoy it. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but it's a really fun game.
Bro, don't take it wrong. I'm gonna be honest. This is my opinion. I was turned off with the Resident Evil series. I never wanted to play a Resident Evil series because it was just not my cup of tea. Like I don't like the whole zombie drama. It just wasn't my thing. But everybody kept insisting because, you know, the whole little Resident Evil Village, you know, came out. So everybody was like, well, Crystal, you play a lot of horror games. Why don't you play a Resident Evil game? And I was like, well, I threw a poll on Twitter, and I was like, well, you guys want me to play so badly a Resident Evil game, then just start recommending games. And that's how Resident Evil 7 popped. And honestly, I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised because ever since I started playing it live, I've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it so much. I think it's because they kind of distanced, correct me if I'm wrong, because you probably have more knowledge in this. I think they distanced themselves a little bit from the whole zombie theory, and now it's gone into like a more supernatural
thing. Like
even starting with 4.
So like, I mean, the old ones, it was like zombies. At the end of the day, it's always like some type of biological creature or whatever you want to call it. Like Jim said, once 4 hit, 4, 5, and 6 are nothing more than like Michael Bay.
It was like
action
parasites.
It's like monsters, but whatever. 7 was, we're gonna do first person, and we're gonna do back to horror roots, but it's not zombies. It's the ooze, the molded is what those black creatures are called.
Thing.
Yeah, and then you got the family members who are all crazy. So it's just a completely different take. And Village is actually like werewolves, kind of vampires. Like, so it's, they mess around with all types of. What I would say is, so do you not like zombies for just the horror aspect, or zombies are just boring to you at this point?
It's just, honestly, it's just boring for me. Yeah. Like, it's not even the creepiness factor. It's like, I just can't. I just sit down and play. Like, I think I was playing last time. I tried to give it a shot, and after 15 minutes, I turned it off. And I think it was State of Decay, I think it is.
Yeah. The, like, simulation one, yeah.
I played like 20 minutes, and after this, I was like, I'm done. I can't play this. It's not a bad game. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not my. It's not my cup of tea. Yeah, it's not something I'm into.
If you wanted to, like, what I would suggest is if you did want to try a good zombie Resident Evil, the Resident Evil 2 remake is probably the best reviewed, best received game, and it's modern with better graphics, everything.
It's probably the best in the series.
I mean, and its horror is like through the roof. It looks amazing, but there's a lot of things other than zombies, is all I'll say. So if you get through Resident Evil 7 and you like it, I'd say maybe give that a try and see if that sparks your interest at all.
Okay, because I was thinking about it. It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you guys played that one, of Fatal Frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has kind of like that.
I think Brighted. I never did. I never got around to it.
That game. Whew. Man,
that's a creepy game.
I don't know what it is. Like, ever since whenever the hell The Ring and The Grudge came out. Like, girls with long black hair walking towards you like a ghost, like, scare the shit out of me. And in that game, all you guys a camera, like, whew, that game was creepy as hell.
I wonder if Outlast came out before, obviously, but I can see how Outlast has a lot of things from Fatal Frame because it's always with the camera as well. Yeah.
Outlast, that's another creepy one, and that I think they just released Outlast 2 on Xbox Game Pass. So
really?
So that's another one, yeah. Like,
Oh my god.
These genres of like you don't even have a weapon, you can't do nothing, like
No.
that's one of those where you're like, oh man, I'm just useless. I just need to run and hide. And yeah, it's a different feeling. Like I said, in streaming, I'm like you. It's funny because I'm not only anxious about the game, but like I'm trying to interact with people, and I can't tell you a number of times I'm like looking down at a comment and something pops up on screen. I'm like, son of a bitch! Like, what are you doing?
It freaks out the worst during live streams. Like, I try to keep it clean, but
you held it together. That's why I was like, okay, either she never curses or she's doing a really good job not cursing.
yeah, because it's hard, or if I know that up front I'm losing it, I just tell my audience, I'm like, hey, this is rated R, rated M, keep the kids out because it's gonna get real.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's fun. I know that everybody, and I know they just do it because they love to torture me. There was like, as soon as you're done with Resident Evil 7, like play it in VR or play Resident Evil 8. I'm like, no, I got my boundaries. I'm not playing this in VR.
Yeah. Yeah, any VR live stream horror game is probably they're just wanting the funny reactions.
Yeah,
they're not worried about you.
Oh hell no, not even a single bit. I'm like, no, y'all don't love me. I'm not doing this.
Now, how about you?
Now I gotta ask. Or sorry.
No, go ahead, Jim.
I just gotta ask real quick. With a lot of your recent uploads going with the PS3 and you trying PS3 games for the first time, was that just like good timing, or was that you trying to like jump on the like the recent surge in value for PS3 games because of like the partial delisting and then coming back and that kind of deal?
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's actually a good question. So we've been doing a lot of research and recon because I mean that's what we do as content creators. And my husband, you know, he's a Sony boy. I guess everybody knows that by now. And he has a huge PS3 collection. So when it comes to creating our videos, we always have like these monthly meetups where we sit down and we kind of come up with video ideas, like what can we do, you know, what can we create. And I told him I had this idea. I told him hey, I want to create a series where it's called, you know, Never Owned, Never Played, Let's Try It. And it's exposing myself to consoles that I never got to own back in the day. I never got to play. And now as an adult, I want to give it a try, you know, because I know that there's a lot of people like me that probably haven't experienced these systems either. So I'm targeting it from a different angle, that it's not just here's your guide for collecting top 10 games or hidden gems or whatever, you know, it's a very different angle of let's just try it out and see if I like it or not. So very raw first impressions and thoughts. So I asked my husband, I said, well, if we're, you know, starting a new series, which is always hard because you got to get your audience to understand and adapt to this new content, you know. I'm like, what is one console that I can start off with? And we realized that he's like, well, you've never had any type of Sony content, because it's the truth, you know. I'm not very attached to Sony, you know, not because I don't like it. It's just I don't have no attachment to the system. And he was like, well, you know, I've been doing a lot of videos for the PS3 and stuff. He's like, I think it would be a good idea that now from your side, you get to show people, you know, experiencing for the very first time the PS3. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's actually a good idea. I was like, that's actually a good idea, because now what we're doing is we're both, I don't want to say like doing the same content, but we're doing content in a way where we're, it's almost hard to say, but we're meshing together both of our audience. Yeah. So if someone enjoys the content on his channel, then they can jump into my channel and see something that they probably would watch on his channel that they're comfortable with, but they're going to see it, from a different take, obviously, on my channel. And that's how we brought the PS3. We started bringing the PS3. We're obviously featuring the PS3, but later on, like I said, it's going to be featuring, many other systems that I didn't get to own, like probably the Xbox 360, the Sega Dreamcast, and so on and so forth. And I just wanted to be interactive because I've been giving the opportunity to the community to drop in the comments like, hey, what games do you recommend for me to try out, that you think is a great game. And then from there, I can consider if it's worthy enough to make it into a video, or if we can even like live stream it. And then they get to actually see me playing the game live for the very first time. And I'm just very genuine. So when you see me play it, I will tell you like, yes, I like it. No, I don't like it. I think it sucks. I think it's good. Like, I'm just going to be straight up honest, when I play. And I think that's what everybody enjoys, like seeing my reaction to these games that I've never got to play before.
Yeah. No. And that's the way Jim and I are definitely similar in terms of like, if we haven't played something, we're not going to like act like we did. But it is funny because like you're going with PS3, and to Jim's question, because it's got so much traction, it will be funny. Like if you play a game that people just adore, and we know just like any fan base, Sony fan base is hard. If you're like, yeah, this game actually sucks, you're just gonna see the people. What are you talking about?
It's bro, you know how much hate I've gotten sometimes for games that like people love, and I just simply can't click with it.
But it's like at the same time, I'm like, I'm being genuine and real. Like I don't want to be fake and just go towards the crowd just because I want approval or acceptance. No, because it's not like people are going to see right through it, and they're like, oh, she's just, just trying to please everyone. So it's always good to have your own voice. And if you have your own voice, you'll attract the right audience.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
We learned that very early with anytime you do a top 10. But my God, if you do top 10s for NES games,
NES
like we did like
sports
NES sports games, like we said, disclaimer, we're doing this like we sat down and played all 22 baseball games over a few weeks. And it was a couple hours, not like a lifetime spending with it. We're like, which one's the most fun? And like, how dare you not put this one at number one? You guys don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the bitching.
And we're like, they're like, we used to dump 40 hours into this. I'm like, yeah, we just admit it. We dumped 2 hours. Like, relax. It's just our list. But no, yeah, it's like on one hand, the passion is what drives everyone, right? Like, and seeing that, it is funny, but yeah, as soon as you do any top 10s or God forbid you rank anything, it's
oh, I'm gonna rank it soon because that's what I told them. I was like, I'm ready for it because I told them as soon as I'm done playing because we can't play the whole library. Let's be honest, it's long, and it would take me forever. But at least I'll play some of them that I know that I would truly enjoy, and then I'll rank it and in general give them my thoughts. Like, yeah, is this a console I want to continue playing or not? Yeah. And so forth. But it just like, I don't know if I should throw this as a spoiler, but anyways, I kind of announced it already in the first episode. One game that I can't wait for everyone to watch because I truly was in shock. Like, it blew my mind away. I hope they port this game. That's all I'm going to say. Is Puppeteer. I got to play the Puppeteer. I can't wait for that video to drop soon.
I was going to ask about that because I saw that in the intro for the series, and we had a thing a couple years back where we each gave each other games we never played. So I gave Bri Puppeteer.
Oh, so you already got to play it? Yes. Oh my God,
I'll tell you what, Zap, Jim. Every time we go
Here
back,
it comes.
Every time we go back and forth, we used to do the same thing. Like we'd have a theme month. Like, okay, this month we do these type of games. Jim would pick games, and he has a interesting and obscure style. I'll say that. They weren't the best games, and he would even self-admit. But like, he gives me this Puppeteer. Now, I had just given him BioShock and like Kid Chameleon. So I'm like, I gave him these classics. The first game he gave me, what was the other game he gave me with Puppeteer?
What was it, Sonic Spinball?
Yeah, with that bullshit.
Yeah.
So you gave me that.
Dare you, sir.
A goddamn pinball game. Like, okay, cool. But then like I played Puppeteer and I was like, oh man, like this game is the graphics, the difference in all the levels, the seasonal thing, like the playing, like it had such a charming, crazy, unique style. And I was like, okay, this game I actually really, really like. And that was one I was like, damn, I actually wish I had that in my collection.
I've never seen that concept before.
No.
That's all I will say. Till
Yeah.
this day, I haven't seen a game with that concept.
Yeah, nothing's really like a puppet show besides that.
No.
Yeah. So I yes, that's one video that you know how you always have this one video that's kind of like your baby.
Yeah.
That's my baby. Out of all the games I've played.
No, that game, yeah, like you said, I played it, and at first I thought I was going to get real tired of that, like, overly, like, theater-esque style. But, man, like I said, there's nothing I love more when a game goes, like, it hits on every major, like, theme. It's got your Wooder, your Halloween Town, your, like, Candy Town, like, I mean, the aesthetics change so drastically, and the story of Kujiro, what the hell is it? I can't remember his name. But
I can't remember his name, but the voiceover is insane.
It's
too.
done really well, yeah. And you know, it's like the concept of like boss fights, like you're cutting something with scissors. Like,
Yes. I don't want to spoil it so much,
know,
y'all,
I know.
but oh, it's so good. All I'm gonna say is like it's already positive, so obviously.
Yeah.
But
That's one of those games. Whenever I see someone make like an underrated list, to me that's one. As soon as you play it, you realize like, why didn't I hear more people talking about this? And you find out like, yeah, not a lot of people had it, but everyone who plays it, I don't hear anything bad. I think the sad
I think it
part
came
is
out late
it just came out like
at
the
the end of
last
the cycle.
year, or yeah, it was like right at the end. And we've
okay.
seen that with NES, Super NES, every system. Like if it whatever games come at the very end, if they're not the major first party titles, they're just not going to get the love they really deserve. And that game,
which common sense, they're not going to be mass produced either because they're at the very end of that system cycle.
yeah, and that game, Jim, and I think that's why Jim was asking, because that was one of those games that shot up in value when they made that announcement. Now, luckily, they came back and said, okay, we're going to keep the store open, but I really hope they do a re-release, a remaster, do something. Just get it back out there.
But they have to do something with it. I really hope that, like, at least port it, at least port the game or something, because the game already looks so good. Like, what else can you do to it,
You wouldn't need to, but like I could see like everything else somehow. I don't even know. But either way, bringing it back, because that is a game we really, really loved.
Yeah, that game is that would be a great humongous factor when it came to the PS3, I guess, for me, because that game was something else.
Yeah, no, great points though. Jim, before we hop on Patreon questions, have you been able to play anything this past week?
Yes, I have. So, after we talked last week, I actually kept trying with Pac-Man 99 and got a first place. So
About time.
I've been able to... Son of a bitch, I played it for like 3 days. Motherfuck. And actually, the night that I got my first place, like I had like 10 games in a row where I was in the top 5. And I was like, God damn it, just let me break through that glass ceiling. And it finally happened. So I got that monkey off my shoulder. And then I started actually playing Scott Pilgrim, because I never played it back in... Well, no. I played it with my buddy on his PS3 back in like 2010 when it first came out, but I never downloaded it after the fact. So when Limited Run had their run with it, I bought it and I'm starting to play through it now, and it's good. Like the first level after it, I was like, it's kind of been done and better since then. But like after that, they add a lot more to the gameplay, and I'm like, okay, I can see what the hype's all about. And it's actually tough. It's surprisingly hard.
Nice. No, I mean that is a great game, and that's one that once you play, maybe I can finally get you to play Charlie Murder, because
I do want to play that. Yeah,
that's like a little spin-off of that. But I actually I streamed yesterday the Destroy All Humans, that son of a bitching end boss that
the regenerating bitch.
I could not beat, and then finally today I was like, I'm gonna mess around with it, see how I do, and I beat it on my first try. So of course, I get off stream. So I got the footage for it, but I was like, well, I'm done that game now. So that was my big focus. And thank you, Astral, once again, because I am now 5 or 6 hours into Donkey Kong 64.
Oh my God.
And that game.
Oh, Bri, you have a lot more to go.
I know.
You got a long way, especially picking up all those color-coded bananas.
Oh, we are not 100%ing this shit as well, especially for Bri. It makes me motion sick, so I can't do it.
I knew about Rare, like, the idea that they were collectathon things, and I know Jim even told me, but I was like, could it really be that bad? And I'm like,
yes.
They can't even give you the courtesy of, like, giving you a good checklist of, like, each area has this many things. Like, no. You just got to keep going back and forth. It's just, that game is ridiculous.
Collectible freaks.
Dude, that's what it is. Yeah, it's for people that just love collecting. That's what it is.
Donkey Kong is that whole thing at its worst. It's absolute worst.
Yeah. So we're gonna get that review out very soon because, as Jim said, I'm gonna get really, really far. I'm not 100% in that game. I'll tell you right now.
I think the concept though was still good, and I'll give you my quick take on it because we haven't really seen a Donkey Kong game that is 3D like that.
Oh yeah.
I think that if they take that concept and perfect it now, and take away all the collectibles and all the stuff that really didn't work. Because I feel like everybody's craving for a Donkey Kong 3D game because all we've seen really is just a side-scrolling platformer type of games. We haven't really seen something like fully fleshed, like kind of like almost Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean? But in a Donkey Kong theme. Yep. I think it would be pretty cool.
Well, that's what I actually like the idea of, like, okay, you got the 5 Kongs, they each have their own special power, like they play differently. That part of it I like, and like even the boss fights, like, and some of the things that you gotta handle differently. Cool, all well done in the style with the music, except for that damn DK rap at the beginning. But you know,
that is a classic. How dare you besmirch it,
Jim? That song.
That's the best part of the game.
You know what? Right? I'm giving you a spoiler right here. That song alone made me inspired to make the 6 most annoying songs from the N64.
Really?
See, there you go. There you go. Content for days.
Because the problem is, I have to turn it on so often to keep playing it, and I keep hearing it. Oh, even if it's a second of it, I'm like, it's a record scratch. Here we go.
My brother and I, we had sunglasses just for this game.
Just for the Donkey.
And every time it went on, my brother would call me and we would put our shades on and we would start rapping and singing all day. That was like a holy grail part.
See, this is one of those games where if you were like a kid who loved Donkey Kong, like I love Donkey Kong Country is one of my favorite Super NES games.
Beautiful
soundtrack,
music,
everything. Yeah. Oh my god, the water level and the final boss theme. But it's one of those. I had N64, but I only really had it for like 10 games. Like most of them were wrestling games or whatever. I never got into it then, but man, you did get your money's worth. But you're just like, going back to it, it aged so terribly where I'm like, I can't even have nostalgia to try and save it for me. This is just like a chore at this point. And I'm like, I gotta get through this so I can give this a fair review.
Oh my
God.
God.
I'm like trying, I'm scraping to find the positive in the game.
Yeah.
It's not going well.
Spoiler? Review spoiler?
Is it really that much of a spoiler, Jim? I mean, you and I talked about it.
Not really.
I think that's you brought a good point there because I think like we all feel the same when now as adults. Like there's a lot of games we tie to nostalgia, but then when we actually sit down and play it, you're like, this didn't age well. You know, this is not a good game. What was I even thinking?
I couldn't stop talking up Kid Chameleon to Jim. And then finally, because he's a Genesis guy, he played it, and going
somehow
back,
didn't have it.
You're like, it's 170 some levels, and there's all these terrible
with no saves or checkpoints or passwords.
I was like, I just like the fact that you could turn in different guys. It was like Megaman, but more like adulty, and yeah, it didn't age well, and I could admit that. Like, I still love the game, and I'll defend it, but I won't try and make it sound like it's great. Like, I just know it's not that good, but I have love for it. So Donkey Kong 64, though, I just want to find that person that like truly defends it, not from a nostalgia standpoint. That's like, no.
Gerard the completionist. He does.
Does he really?
And
Really?
he fucking 100%ed it too, and he defends it
Wow.
twice because he had to redo it after his co-host left, and he had to redo it for his own video.
Oh, true,
Goddamn,
right.
you masochist.
Wow, yeah. I do remember that now.
That whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Well,
huge labor.
Well, I'm gonna tell you
To say
this.
the least.
That worries me. Anyone that wants to 100% that twice? No.
That's his gimmick.
I mean, he's known for that, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't wait to do that review, Jim. And Astral, you son of a
Me
bitch!
neither.
Thank you for requesting that game.
Look, Astral, Brian's pain is more than worth the $5 that you give us.
You son of a bitch.
One game that does that for me was, which is not a very common game that everybody knows. It's for the PS1 and it's called Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. And
I
in
know,
my
but I
mind,
never played it.
I've seen videos of it.
as a kid, I actually have a video of it. And as a kid, nostalgia factor and everything. Like, I love the game. It's not a bad game, but it didn't age well. So now as an adult, when I sat down and played it, I was like, yeah, I can't play this.
Yeah, you're like, what's
Oh, yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
That whole generation is probably the toughest to go back to, too.
PS1
Like, that's the
and
definition of
N64,
growing pains.
Yeah.
Whole polygons and all that.
Where's the camera? I don't know.
It's somewhere.
You know what? It's honestly
Just hit shit. You'll find it.
Well, it's funny because I honestly look at that PS1 N64 the same way like probably most people nowadays look at Atari without any historical context. Like, you needed that so bad to get where we are now, but like it just didn't age well. And I'm sorry, like even Atari, like a lot of things just didn't age well either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something, you know, I'll still defend any FMVs from the PS1, but yeah, N64 is the probably toughest console that we all know we loved, but we know has aged the worst. It's the worst smelling cheese.
Honestly, it's, a lot of people wouldn't like me for that, but it's like, right now it's my least favorite console.
Yeah.
To be honest, because of the whole camera factor. Like, it's true, like you said, it was so essential, you know, for the evolution of gaming in general, you know. But
The camera control. I mean, you talk about, and even people like Praise the Shell, Mario.
The C buttons are perfect. You shut your mouth.
Jim, you're that weird defender of the N64, but that's all your nostalgia talking, and you damn well know it.
I know.
Just because you
Didn't age
know.
well.
like, I love Banjo-Kazooie, and it was kind of like Mario 64 in a way, which it was so much fun, but I gotta be honest, the cameras just turn me off. I don't want to play the game because of the same, because every time I came to making certain jumps, you know, and certain,
No, it's a killer.
you know, edges or stuff, because you can't even differentiate, you know, what's the edge, what's not.
We said it before, and like weirdly enough, like shit like Turok and even South Park
Oh, God.
ages kind of better than GoldenEye does, and GoldenEye was a gold standard at the time. But like just because of the control scheme, it's like, oh, this is almost like twin stick, where GoldenEye, it's like, yeah, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Did you know, this was in news recently, now that you brought GoldenEye, and I actually found out because of my brother, because my brother's a huge PC gamer. He told me that now they actually redone the whole gameplay mechanics and inputs for GoldenEye, and it actually plays better and performs better now on PC than originally for the Nintendo 64. Like, he says that it's like spot on right now to play GoldenEye.
Yeah, there was like a leak of like a version that was supposed to come out on the 360, and then like the last minute it got pulled before it did. So then like eventually like the ROM got like leaked out everywhere. And then I think it got pulled for like after a short time because of, you know, suing and crap like that. But yeah, from what I hear, it was like a pretty damn good way that they did it.
Yeah, he said it was spot on, like the cameras, everything, even like I think they even added like features so it would be easier to like shoot your targets and stuff like that. It's hard to explain because I didn't get to see it. Yeah, I didn't personally get to see it, but he got to experience it, and he had very positive feedback about it.
I'm gonna have to look into
Yeah, well, even like Perfect Dark, when they'd had its 360 release, like the kind of HD remaster, they put in like a full twin stick shooting, but like it was kind of weird. Like, it just felt wrong on a game like that like you grew up with the auto assist and all that crap. So
yeah,
it's like a fine line you got to do.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so, you know, Astral, we do love you. You are one of our Patreons, but I'm getting through that game. But Jim, speaking of Patreons, what questions do we have from our lovely supporters this week?
Well, patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 measly a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every single one of these Power Hour podcasts. And speaking of good old gamer Astral, he's first. Your favorite childhood gaming memory?
Ooh, Zap, we'll let you go first.
So hard.
I know.
Oh, Jesus. Holy macaroni.
How about this? We'll give you a minute because mine,
Yeah.
I actually already said during this episode, but I'll go back once again.
You go ahead while I think.
It's me and Juan, like I said, all night long, playing all the Resident Evils on the PS1. And I'll never forget the other thing, like, growing up in his house, like, it was like this weird thing, like, you couldn't go down in the kitchen, so we'd sneak down there to get ramen, like, 2 in the morning and, like, just try and make big-ass bowls of it and try and get back up before his parents woke up. But yeah, being up all night, all the Resident Evils, and completing them. And then when his mom comes in, like, why are you guys sleeping till like 12? Like, because we were playing Resident Evil all night. So yeah, those were the nights, like, just going back to back to back.
Crazy.
Probably my favorite, for sure.
Yeah, and there's ones that I've said a lot of times on this show already, so I'll do a different one. And my dad and I, one summer, we basically committed like an entire month to trying to beat Sonic Spinball, and it'll be like us going back and forth, like taking turns trying to get a little farther or figuring out like where to go and crap like that, until that eventual like final like cathartic moment where like you finally beat Robotnik at the end. And it's only 4 goddamn levels, but Jesus Christ, you need to know what you're doing for that one. So
Nice.
Okay, so I don't know if that's cheating, but I got two of them that's short, but 2 gaming memories that I have. One of them is, I think we actually have a VHS. I'm going to ask my mom to see if she can find it. If she finds it, I'll upload it to YouTube. I don't know how I'll make it happen. But my uncle came over at our apartment over there in New Jersey, and we had the SNES, and we were playing Mario Kart, and it was a family day, and everybody just brought everything to make sub sandwiches. And all my family was in the kitchen, and I just remember like smelling the sandwiches, all the subs, all the commotion, them talking and cooking, while my brother and I were in our room, because if you've lived in New Jersey, you know how our apartments are. It's just basically a room, and that room is part of the living room. It's a very small space, and we were playing Mario Kart all day. And I remember my mom pulled out the camcorder and was recording us playing Mario Kart. And I really want to find that VHS. I swear to God, if I find it, I'm going to upload it. But then my second gaming memory was one night we all were just, I don't know, we were in a disagreement of something. I don't even know what it was. And my mom said, okay, well, we'll figure it out. We'll solve it over Mario Party 2. And we're just going to have one of those long ass rounds, because you know how Mario Party lets you select all these options of how many rounds you want to play, time limit, and all that stuff.
oh, you did like a 50-rounder, didn't you?
We
crazy.
did the longest one, bro. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, and we still was playing Mario Party 2. And you know how Mario Party 2, it's by themes. So our favorite one was the Halloween one, where we're all dressed in costumes. And bro, I'd just be blasting and stealing stars and doing the whole commotion thing, because I was like, yeah, we're going to settle this. I don't care if it's 5 a.m. in the morning, but we're going to settle this once and for all.
By the time you got done, you're like, what were we arguing about again?
I know, right? Exactly. It came to the point that we weren't able to finish it because we were just so tired that my mom was like, I give up. Let's just turn this off.
I don't care anymore. Everyone's wrong. Everyone's right. Just go to bed.
Those are awesome memories. And yeah, so it's funny you said Jersey, yeah, because obviously we're Philly. As soon as you said sub, I was like, wait, where did you grow up? Because now you got me curious. I was like, okay, Jersey, that makes sense.
I'm from the East Coast. That's why I say Mario.
Yep.
It's Mario, y'all. Ain't nobody gonna change me to say it.
And she didn't call us out for saying water, so that was a good sign.
You probably heard people say it, so yeah, nice.
Yeah. Steve still just trying to make me say it. Otherwise, I'm like, no.
Don't cave. Fuck that.
Never.
No.
Never,
It ain't gonna
never,
happen.
never.
What are you going to sit there and say, water? No, get the hell out of here. Actually, speaking of gaming memories and collecting, she has a good video with our buddy G to the Next Level, so definitely check that out too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. I'm sorry. You brought it up and now I remember. Yeah, it was a fun video. He's a Sega fanboy, like I call him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, all the way.
Yeah, he loves the Sega games, which
Jim-
I've learned a lot because of him, actually, because that's one system that I just never got exposed to when I was young. So
You're lucky.
probably.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Jim.
gonna
I
end
didn't
this
know.
call. Zap, it was nice having you. And
Though
next-
I will say that my favorite game for the Sega Genesis that I think that performs even better than what it was for the SNES, I think it came out, is Earthworm Jim.
you're
Oh,
goddamn right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the soundtrack and the audio is so good.
And
Sounds
it's
so
not
much better.
cropped and all that.
Yeah. It's one of the few games that's better on a.
Don't.
Jim, come on. People have spoken. We know it's the truth.
The people are wrong and they're fools. Sheep. All right, next up from 5th Gen Mook. To go along with Astro's question, did you ever get in trouble for playing video games? For example, I always got in trouble for staying up until morning.
Staying up till morning, that would be it. Here's a weird one. I forget how old I was. Maybe 13 or something, 14. I had gotten Manhunt, and I don't know if you remember that game, but that game was brutal. I mean, that's the one. So it's literally, you're like not a convict. I forget what you are. You're a prisoner or a convict, but you're in this like weird world that's kind of like, your goal is to go around and murder people as brutally as possible, and they're all bad people, but like it's not just like shoot them or something. It's use a plastic bag around their head or stab them with glass. So ultra violent. Got one of the most controversial games. And I had this habit of, when I would go to the bathroom, I would read the instructions book. And I left that instruction book in there, and my mom read it, and she like wrote a note. She's like, I just read about this game, and this is very disturbing to me. Like did like trying to guilt me into like not playing it. That was the closest I've probably gotten in trouble with a game. But like I've never, other than that, not really. Because like I said, the whole like staying up late was always like are you still playing? No. I can hear a TV. Tube TVs are too loud. So, yeah, that's probably my closest.
Yeah, for like, I never got in like trouble for gaming, but it'll be the thing where it's like I'd be up late and then my mom would barge in and just be like, "Go to fuck the bed," stuff like that. Or it'll be the whole thing of like, I want to get another game, and she's like, "Don't you have enough games?" Which, looking back, you don't know what the hell you're getting into. So, if you only knew how bad things would get. But yeah, that'll be like the extent of it for me.
I think for me, honestly, it wasn't even that bad. I think it was staying up long playing, but it was more because there was a phase where we jumped into PC gaming. And it was still in the time where you needed to dial up, y'all. So if you
Mom,
don't
get
know,
off the phone. I'm playing StarCraft.
if y'all don't know what
That was
dial
me.
up is, Google
Yeah.
it. but
If you've
yeah,
never heard that static when you pick up that phone and
like
somebody's online.
yeah, it
Yep.
was like every time I had to dial up to play the game, I and if it was a game that I really liked, like Tomb Raider or something like that, then we would stay up for real long. And then yeah, of course, my mom needed to use the phone, so she was like, "All right, time's up. I gotta plug it back into the phone. I got a call to make."
You're like, you don't understand.
Struggle was real, y'all.
We were playing a goddamn like you're about to win a multiplayer game, and all of a sudden your thing disconnects because your mom's picking up to call her aunt. You're like,
Bro.
God damn it, mom!
For Doom or something, that it was like, especially you needed to play, or especially when you had the LAN parties. I don't know if y'all got to do the LAN parties, and you had bad internet, which was a thing back in the day, yo. Yeah, that was the
Kids will
worst.
never know.
No, kids don't know. Kids are. I feel like everybody's blessed nowadays because
They
we take the
are
internet for
spoiled little shits.
granted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. They, for sure, the internet thing is the thing we could talk about phones and everything else, but the internet is the thing they can never appreciate. And whenever they say, like, internet is slow, I'm like, you don't know what God did. If you've ever watched a web page have to go line by line loading, That's slow. You don't know what slow is.
And even like when Messenger back in the day, and that's like still new. It was, AOL, and I still remember the whole little ringtones and all that stuff, and the messages coming in and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We can't talk too much, of course, about this because we're going to be dating ourselves. But
Oh no, we're old.
Gotta keep
At least me and Bri, we're old as shit. So we fully embrace it. And last up from Burn Retinas. The video game soundtrack or a musical score that you think can be played in a casual manner without weirding out normies. I think Silent Hill and some of those original tracks in the first Grand Theft Auto.
say what again? What was the question? I'm sorry.
So basically, like video game music that you could play to like normal people who aren't like big time gamers and like they want to be weirded out by it.
That's hard.
It's funny because like I remember one time we were playing some kind of fucking game over our apartment at the time. Like Brian came over and like our girlfriends, now wives at the time, and I started playing the Streets of Rage 2 boss music, and they're like, "What the fuck are you playing over there?"
Oh man, no, this is funny because I've tried to casually with my wife, with Monica, like try and sneak in like on our Amazon thing. I'll put video game music and we'll be driving. She's like, "What?" Like I put like Castlevania shit. She's like, what the hell is this?" I'm like, "It's Bloody Tears. Come on, you don't know what this is?" But oh man, like to casually, shit.
It might almost have to be a song that could pass off as a like real song. So like this was gonna be a weird reference, but like the song when you beat Plants vs Zombies, it's like a real like it's an upbeat actual song with like real music, real lyrics and crap like that. Like something you could pass off as like an actual song and not just like a chiptune thing. Because I don't think normies can go past that. I think they would hear the bleeps and bloops and be like, "What the fuck is this?"
I'm thinking maybe like generally like RPG games are known sometimes for having like real good
music, yeah.
music. So maybe some sort of RPG game. You can
Or
play it
maybe just-
casually.
I was
Or
gonna
maybe
say
just put
NES.
in like Mario, because everyone knows Mario.
Yeah, but
So if you
but
play,
they'll
like,
know
1-1.
it's still like I think if the goal is like they don't know for sure it's video game music. I was gonna say kind of like what Zap said, go Super NES because it is more orchestral. As we said, like Donkey Kong Country, like do that aquatic theme. You might not know that's a video game. They're gonna be like, "What are you trying to do right now?" But like it's one of those like themes. You're like, "Is this from a movie? Like, what's going on?" Like, it just
True.
doesn't just sound like a video game. Or I could even say like the Killer Instinct song, that where they're
True.
like, "Oh, okay, this sounds a little more whatever." Jim, that was your ultimate opportunity to say the DK rap.
Shit! God damn it! Missed opportunity. You know what? I'm putting that on my goddamn phone tonight after we're done this.
Yeah, I want to see what Sandy says to that, Jim.
It's
Show
funny
her
because
how-
my
I'll show her how
brother
good I can get.
my brother just had recently a baby, and now she's like maybe 6 or 7 months old.
Congrats.
And he's been putting Donkey Kong Country
That's
music
awesome.
Yes.
so she can get like familiar. And every morning it's a ritual. He video chats me and he's like, "Look what I'm doing," and he has it blasting in the living room, and she's just mesmerized listening to the music.
Yeah, I gotta start doing that every time I pick my kid up from car rides home, because my wife keeps putting this godless country music on, and that's indoctrinating her. So I gotta break her of that shit.
Jim, I'm shocked you haven't just tried to throw on some Streets of Rage, or in your case,
That's what's gonna start happening.
well, what did we say? Oh, you know what? Actually, another one that you could almost think is from like Miami Vice or something is that from Streets of Rage 1, Jim and I, you talked about Moon Beach. That or the second one, I forget the revised version of that, but yeah, that's a game that you would say, okay, I don't know what this is, but it sounds like an 80s action movie or something.
Right.
No, that's a great question. Yeah.
Yep, and that wraps up the Patreon questions for this week. So, yep, I'm going to use these suggestions because I have to break my goddamn kid of these things.
It's war.
It is a goddamn war, and it never ends.
Jim, would you call it the never-ending story?
Oh my god.
No, I would not, because I'm not going in the dumpster.
Jim, I still don't know how that's the only thing you take away from that movie. It's a masterpiece.
Because you had to turn and look at me as it happened.
Got the dumpster again.
Not again.
Oh God.
Asking me to do the truffle shuffle all these goddamn times. I know it's a different movie. Ah,
Jim, do the truffle shuffle.
just because I have the titties. Man.
Jim, I'm not trying to make you mad, but I will say, moving on to your favorite bit of all time, and this is one that's been requested over and over again, at least on the stream. So Jim's favorite bit is Gamers Mad. And since he is a Twitch guy, he gets to see so many reactions that luckily I'm shielded from. This one, Jim, you need to explain. It's so ridiculous, but I think the title says it all, and the reaction is what's great. So why don't you explain it?
Okay, so, Zap, for those who don't know, so Gamers Mad's typically when I'll put up a concept where gamers will freak out on social media about a topic that's just so out of bounds and so stupid that I'm just like, why? But this time, the journalist did it for me, because good old Hard Drive Mag, so if you don't know who Hard Drive is, kind of think like The Onion, like a couple years ago, like that level of good satire. They're kind of there now with like the hard times. So they wrote an article called IGN writer excited to start playing game he just finished reviewing. So obviously it's that easy dig of reviewers not playing the whole game or being bad at games. It's a harmless joke. So you would think. Until you go to the comments section, and I'm almost sad at this point because so many people have gotten more clout by dunking on people. But when it first came out, all the top comments were littered with blue check marks and game journalists going, "That ain't it. Normally you're very funny, but you just missed a mark on this one. Don't you think after this time of what's going on in the past week, you should probably lay off IGN? Blah, 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 blah." Basically showing that, as we talk about again and again, game reviewers and journalists cannot take jokes and take themselves way more seriously than anyone ever should in their line of work.
Dude, I don't get, like, number one, it is, as you said, it's such an obvious parody. But, like, yeah, the amount of people that are, like, jumping on this and saying, like, man, like, the amount of harassment of game journalists, I'm like, number one. Like,
Of course, there's the people who are like, maybe you could post something funny without the Gamergate stuff. It's like, motherfucker, the only people who talk about Gamergate in 2021 are game journalists looking for, like, a shield. That's it. No one cares anymore. We've all moved on. No one gives a goddamn
So
shit.
is it okay? So I got like a genuine question here.
Yeah.
Is it a real article, or it's just an article that doesn't take itself seriously? Like, is this a person actually?
It's a total joke article.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not a real article or anything like that.
No.
like,
Okay.
over the past however many years, like, it's been more and more rampant where you see these people, and I think what everyone's referencing, and I forget the lady's name, or even it might have been IGN she worked for. But she,
Alana
like,
Pierce.
I'm not sure, but she basically said, like, I didn't actually do any side quests in the game. I didn't do any customization. I didn't do anything other than, like, play for a few hours and here's my review. And everyone was like, how is that a review of a game if you didn't do, like, 90% of it? So she got a lot of shit for it. And especially from Twitter, like, that is a toxic dump of people who just, of course, they're the most
True.
negative in the world. And so, like, I don't know why people are acting shocked that, like, yeah, like, we've already said gamers can be very avid when you don't take it
Yeah.
serious. And these journalists who get these advanced copies, like, how many times have we seen, how is it like every AAA game comes out and they're all 9 out of 10s, like, right away, and you're like, you played it for 8 hours and it's a 70-hour game and it's a 9 out of 10.
Or famously the Polygon reviewer who, like, gave Cuphead a bad score because he couldn't get out of the tutorial and couldn't figure it out, like, shit like that. So, like,
You're like,
and, like, of course there's the people who are like, well, game journalists get, like, death threats and mean comments all the time. Well, yeah, they do, but, you're fucking on the internet in 2021. You have to expect this kind of shit. So, like, I can't sympathize for someone with the easiest job in the world, especially for a lot of them who make a lot more money than I do to talk about video games. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, like, the sympathy right there, like, they all, like, we've kind of hit on this before where they all take themselves a little too seriously. And a lot of them are people who couldn't get into like the New York Times, so they had to settle for this, and they try to make themselves up bigger than they are. And again, like if you just want a litmus test for like who gets it and who doesn't, just check the comments on this because it is a treasure trove.
I think it all boils down to like a lot of people always see it from a customer perspective, and those things don't blend together when it comes to corporate, because at the end of the day IGN is a organization, it's a business, and like journalism, the term by itself, it's always been known like you have to be trustworthy, reliable, factual, you know what I mean? And then people just
Right.
take it too seriously, because I'm like, if I read these articles, I already know beforehand that first of all, there's deadlines to meet. Corporates don't give a damn. I'm sorry. Sometimes they have too many requirements for these journalisms, especially if they want to like do it over the top, dramatic, and it's a rat race because it's who's the first person to drop this article of this game, because they just want to have this exclusivity, you know, this brand, this name they're trying to build. And a lot of people don't understand these things. So obviously, the majority of these articles are just going to be brief overviews. They're just going to be overviews. It's not like me, like we actually talked about off camera that maybe I have a little bit more time and I could put 100 hours into a game and then come with a better full in-depth review of this game compared to a journalist that just got the copy probably a week before the release, and they got only a couple of days to play a couple of hours and then come up with an article. You know, there's just so many factors. So I'll read the article, but it's like I tell everybody, like, take it with a grain of salt. Play the game, actually, and then come up with your own conclusions. Because if you're depending on IGN or these companies, you're just getting like a brief appetizer. You're not getting the real deal here, you know?
I also look at, like, maybe, to your point, I think because they have deadlines, sometimes they may purposely go with something they know is going to be divisive, because at the end of the day, it gets some more views. Like, someone's going to click, be like, oh my God, did someone really write something this stupid? And they're getting that engagement time because you're trying to get to the bottom. Like, did somebody really say they didn't play the game? And now you're on the website. Maybe you click on more. So it's like almost like, are they purposefully trolling you? Like, did they?
Perfect example is Cyberpunk. Didn't you notice all these articles that started dropping within days? All of a sudden, like hours after hours, you just bam, 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 bam. You're like, you know, that wasn't something that they took time and effort to actually sit down and analyze and then come up with an article, which is sad if you think about it too, because you know how much time these developers and teams have put into these games. So someone in just a couple of hours can just vaguely critique their hard work, you know?
Right.
It's just like, come on, you know?
And then there's like all the blue check marks, just like trying to find all the arguments they can have to defend their brethren, which, whatever, I get it, but like a lot of them are like, oh, don't you think after the week they're having? And for those who don't know, real quick, like IGN made a stand on the Israeli-Palestine thing. Brian and I are completely way too dumb to comment on it, so we're not going to do that. But there is a whole kerfluffle about that. But the fucking hard drive's not making a stand on that about their opinion. Like, IGN's just the biggest goddamn name, so they used it. Like you know what the hell they're doing. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, it's all these bad faith arguments they throw out there to, like, it's a joke article. Like, Jesus Christ, people.
I think the hardest thing that they've kind of crossed the line nowadays is when it comes to journalism, you're supposed to stay neutral. Like, you're supposed to be unbiased, because people are reaching out to you. And even though they're seeking for an opinion, you still got to leave the doors open, you know, for people to do their research. But now journalism has taken a whole different route where, you know, names are no longer the brands, it's the customer. That's the brand, because you're trying to seek approval from the audience. So you're like, well, how do we write this article in a way that we can get total agreement and engagement from the audience, because that's who we're trying to win over, you know? So it's taking a negative connotation, if you ask me.
And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, sometimes a poor author can have their entire article killed by the editor just to try to get a clickbaity title.
Yeah.
Like that person who had the article about Mass Effect, you know, And basically, like we talked about before with Burn Retinas, the point of the article was like, don't let these companies jerk themselves off because they put a woman as the main character. Like, there's still work to be done. And then the title of the article is, sorry, women or, men aren't the stars anymore. Something like that. Something inflammatory just for the sake of getting clicks. So, like,
That's
like
so
they fight it. They fight like an uphill battle as it is. And, like, we get it. Like, the gamers get it. Like, of course, there's the shitheads out there. But, like, motherfucker, don't go after a satire site that everyone knows is a satire site. Jesus goddamn Christ.
But no, to Crystal's point, though, and I think you hit on it even earlier, we were talking about, unfortunately, journalists aren't true journalists anymore, and they're more akin to content creators, which are niche, which do have opinions. Like, you go to content creators because me and Jim, like, Jim is going to be diehard. He's going to defend N64. He's going to defend Sega Genesis. Like,
I should.
That's his brand. And, like, I'm just going to shoot him down and tell him how wrong he is. But at the end of the day, like, that's, like, because that's our personal opinions. We're not trying to cater to someone. Whereas, like, other content creators, they realize they get in a rhythm and they're like, okay, I'm only going to do this now. Journalists are doing the same thing, essentially. They're saying, like, who's our audience? All right. And usually they tie it political. Is it left? Is it right? What do we need to, like, hit on? And they just try to make it work. And it does suck, which is also part of the reason why gaming journalists especially get so much shit, because how do you take them seriously when they aren't even being biased in their stuff? So
Yeah.
it's really tough.
And also, let's be honest, just some people just want to find an excuse to be mad at something nowadays on social media, because, like, with the most recent post of the female protagonist for Horizon, I found that so ridiculous. I'm like, come on, y'all. Like, you really have to nitpick this? Like, what? It's so important that it takes part of your time to really nitpick something like that. It's ridiculous.
The energy wasted in the complaint is that's what blows my mind. It's just like, it takes energy to complain. And you're gonna sit there and do it? Like, yikes. But no, Jim, I mean, and then it's kind of a follow-up, but it's like almost a perfect transition for, I guess you want to call it Gamers Mad 2 here. The other comment you threw up here, and I can't, I don't know if you know, I don't know if you know this guy, Jim, but Radical Reviewer.
Oh, see, I didn't, but yeah, this came to us from our buddy Blade Blur, and he actually asked us to comment on this. So, there's a guy who's a wannabe bread tuber, and for those who don't know, BreadTube is like a sociological, political thing, like if you know people like Shoe on Head and H-Bomber Guy, like that kind of deal. So, blah, 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 blah. So he's a small tier one. So he wrote up a comment going, and this is good for like us and Zap, who are all content creators. And his basic tweet was, not gonna lie, I really can't understand content creators who can't make at least a video a month. I've worked 2 or more jobs, often 70 hours a week during most of my channel's existence, and still managed to do 2 videos most months. Imagine some folks who form a band and struggle to work around schedules. Practice a few times a month and play dive bars and such. I'm feeling attacked. And some other person is like, yeah, I'm a career musician. I pick up my instrument 2 or 3 times a year. It's disrespectful to the craft and the audience, in my humble opinion. 1, not humble, fuck yourself.
Well, so the only thing I'll say is his continuation, his final piece of that is, y'all know I'm referring specifically to content creators who have the wonder luck of being able to live off their content creation, right? Hence my fellow up comment, which explains that, because I'm writing a script about all of it now, so I hope you know what's up. So basically he's saying, he's not talking about, like, us three, like, you got jobs, you got our stuff.
The ham and eggers.
He's saying, yeah, okay, the people that's their full-time job should be able to get out at least a video a month. I mean, it's one of those deals where on the surface, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say, I do understand what he means when he says should be able to if that's your only job. But what content, I mean, to say content creator, you're now opening the world to, like, are you talking about someone who just does vlogs? Or are you talking about someone who like does a ton of research, has to travel, has to do a million other things, and puts 3 months worth of work into each video? Like,
Oh my God, don't even get me started because this guy just rattled me. Yeah.
I mean, we talked off camera and you just mentioned it, Zap. I mean, you can easily just getting footage for a video game video can take just hundreds of hours just capturing the footage. And then that doesn't include the editing, the scripting, the voice recording, like the amount of effort into those things. But if you're someone who, that you're someone who's taking it more seriously, I'm sure if he's referring to someone who like does a day in, day out thing and doesn't do any editing, yeah, then that person should be able to get a video a month.
I think that when people do posts like that, they just generally want to sit in a position that they're not entitled to do in the first place. Because when we talk about content creators, it's like you said, it's so broad, and there's so many factors that you need to take in. And like, we can personally talk about this because we are content creators. So like, number one, data doesn't lie. Like, you don't know based on analytics how the audience works for them, demographics, time zone for that content creator, where their audience is coming from, age groups, for different types of styles for edits, what type of content are they making? Are they filmmakers? Are they essay type of videos? The longer and more tedious, like Ancestry or tops like that. Like, there's so many factors that you need to take into account. And even if you live out of this full time, there's stuff they do besides videos, that people do not know. Sponsorship, brand deals, a bunch of things, side businesses that they have, other products that they promote, that they have on the side. They gotta work juggling with all this at the same time. Like, this person's only focused on, well, the content creator. Yeah, but it's not just popping up with a video. No, you got to go to the drawing board. You got to build a script. You got to come up with the idea. You got to have a content creation calendar. You got to come up with who's editing the video and get everything right. It's almost like making a movie, because even if you record a movie, you got to go back and watch the movie while you're editing it and find out, oh, this is trash. I need to retake this because it doesn't work. Like, I had this idea, but now that I'm putting it together, it doesn't mix and match. You know what I mean? So it's almost a sin to try to judge someone. I personally know content creators that upload one video a month, but they're so successful at it because that one video brings so much good quality, like so much meatiness to it, because they're full-length documentaries, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, that that person has put the work and the effort and the time into it. So at the end of the day, it's like, who am I to judge how someone handles their channel and their brand? Yeah. Everyone handles it differently. If you're doing something that's a little bit more like, let's say, gaming news, yeah, I could see that being something, daily. You have to do it daily. You got to step on your game, blogs. Yeah. I can see that. But again, it all comes down to, well, what type of content is that person making?
Yeah. This is the type of dude who would probably be like, man, shouldn't a kicker always be able to make a field goal, or shouldn't someone be able to make it from the free throw line all the time? Like, he'd make that same argument, I feel like, and just throw it out there, like, kind of as just someone who probably they themselves are just a sit back and bitch about the world. That's my guess.
Friggin' Gary Gatekeep over here doesn't even show his face on his videos. He just puts pictures of his dog up there, his B-roll footage. So... Like it's like Zap said, like some people, like even like say like Gaming Historian, he puts out like one video a month if he's lucky, but the amount of research he puts into it and shit like that, like it pays off in the end. And so if people want to support him, especially through Patreon and through the views he gets, then he earns it because he puts a lot of work in. It's whatever works for any people out there. Some people will like to have, like, it builds anticipation. You go, oh shit, he uploaded, sweet, like finally. So then they click on it. Or some people just diarrhea out something every goddamn day. So it's whatever works for people. Like, shit.
Yeah. It's a stupid comment. And it is one where my gut goes whenever I see these kind of things, I go, okay, he's purposely shitposting to get a reaction, and he's gonna like feint defending it, but ultimately it'll probably be one of those things like, I didn't realize this would get enough traction. Well, check out my latest video. You know, it's gonna be like just purposefully drawing, just like we said with the IGN, the clickbaity titles. I kind of feel like you throw something out there just to try and ruffle feathers and piss people off.
Yeah,
And the best part is it didn't even get that much engagement. Like it didn't.
Good.
and
like,
even
yeah.
people that mean like good intentions for you, they still don't understand because they're seeing it from a viewer side. Like even if they throw in like suggestions, oh, can you make a video of this? Can you make a video of that? They don't know because again, you got to take into account so many factors, like you know the algorithm, the trends, the topics that are going on throughout that month. Is this video gonna really work or not? You know, or is it just gonna be a blow? Because honestly, once you are with a bigger sub count and you start getting brand deals and start getting sponsorships, you can't screw it up.
Yep.
There's a certain
Yeah.
point that you can't take risk because it's going to affect your brand and your reputation as a content creator. And they don't know because they can't see that. They don't see that because it's everything that you do off cameras. It's what we call the messy part of a content creator, you know.
Yeah. No, it's just a very uneducated kind of just like, I'm gonna throw this out here.
He knew what the fuck he was doing. He wanted some interaction.
Well, Jim, you deal with people like that all day long.
I mean, I know, but that is true too. But yeah, I had no idea who this guy was. But yeah, Blade threw it in there. It's like this motherfucker. I mean,
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, that's interesting. Oh, but Jim, Zap, I do have a question, and I'm so glad, Zap, what you said earlier, because it ties very well into this topic. Every week we do a which is better. This week I'm doing a which is worse. And it seems very obvious on the get, but it inspired me because of Donkey Kong 64 and the goddamn jumping in that. So my question is, what is worse when you have to deal with, and I'm just going to say it, N64 jumping mechanics in 3D games?
Mother?
Or when you get those really bad 2D, like NES, like pixel perfect, you jump and you die instantly. Which jumping mechanic is worse and which one drives you crazier? So I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's pretty obvious because of what inspired me, what I'm going to pick. But I wanted to see what you all thought.
Oh my god, they're both worse. But I mean,
They're both terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, because I have played, and obviously anyone who's ever watched Angry Video Game Nerd, like that's usually a lot of his videos. He covers games where like the jumping is just terrible, or like I said I've loved Castlevania, but it is one of the worst jumping mechanics because you miss it and you seem like you're on there and your foot is even there, but like the pixel isn't that perfect. So missing the jump always results in insta death or some bullshit.
yeah.
That definitely frustrates me. And
I think for me it's 2D. Definitely.
It is 2D for you? Okay.
Yes, because there's one specific game that I enjoy, but it's kind of like a love and hate relationship, and it's a Scooby Doo game for the SNES, and it's that same for that same reason because it's so pixel perfect that even if you try to measure the distance and make the run and make the jump, for some reason it just never works. You just all of a sudden you die or you can't make the jump, or it got to be so perfect timing. I call it perfect timing in order to complete the game, because if not, you're just going to be stuck.
Yeah.
I think that's one at SNES Drunk when we had him on the show. He was like going through his Scooby Doo games, and I think he was talking about that one too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the name, but I mean, I think it's the only one that came out for the SNES anyways, so. I might be wrong, but.
Oh, Jim,
No, there's a few there.
what is your
Okay.
take? Jim.
Sounds like you got a lot.
Because they both can be equally frustrating. So, 2D, you have to deal with pixel perfect, and of course, like the good old Ninja Gaidens and Castlevanias of the world with knockback. Of course, you can get
The knockback is annoying, yeah.
F in the A. But then again, with good old fashioned 3D platformers, there's that old depth of field, and you think you have it nailed. And fine, I'll make you happy. It's goddamn 3D because It all depends on the camera, and even then, sometimes with the camera, the goddamn depth of field will throw you goddamn off, and you think you have it goddamn nailed, and then you goddamn fall into a goddamn pit. And then someone's going to yell at me for saying goddamn too much. So, there you go.
No, so for me, what really drove me crazy, the depth of field is what Jim hit on is perfect, because I'm at that point in Donkey Kong 64 and Zap, since you've played it enough, you may remember, there's like not only the issue of like the camera constantly moves, and there are sections where if you hold down a button you can stay behind the character and it semi stays true, but then there's other sections where it becomes a fixed camera angle and you can't adjust it whatsoever, and of course it's the worst angle for that field of depth. And there's this conveyor belt, which I'm like, oh, it looks like it's up against a wall, so as long as I get up to it, I can kind of run along the wall. No, there's a gap that you can't see, and the number of goddamn times I fell.
You're talking about.
I was like, number one, you have to like shoot this thing. You only get a certain amount of time to get over to it, and then I kept falling. I was like, motherfuck, like, God, like, stop with this bullshit. So then, like, you have to unintuitively run away from the wall, almost going to the other edge. And, like, at the one point, I actually got to the end and realized, like, the timer was up for, like, the gate to close. I was just, that drove me crazy, but I can remember so many games in N64 with that same exact camera error or, like, issue. And maybe because I grew up with NES and, like, playing the games where I'm, like, they annoy the hell out of me, and that knockback can be so terrible. But it's something like it's a terrible mechanic I've almost got ingrained into me, whereas I still can't get used to the 3D platformers. Even though I've played enough, and on that N64, that camera system is just one of the worst. So I always say that frustrates me a lot more. Even though it's more deadly in the 2D, the 3D one just pisses me off to the point where I'm like, all right, I gotta stop the game before I break this controller. Like, it just, I can't do it. So.
Oh, now I remember which one it is called. It's called Scooby-Doo Mystery.
Mystery.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so other
the one
than the
it's
jump,
called.
is it a good game?
No, in general, it is a good game. Like
Okay.
it's almost like watching an episode. You're just playing like different episodes, you know, the traditional Scooby-Doo, you know, style. But it doesn't you know how some games they use the characters, but it has nothing to do with how no, this one stays true to what it is, you know. But it's just the whole jumping input. And you know what other thing turns me off, but it's for more like newer games, and I found this out recently with the PS3. Sorry y'all, but I don't like that. I was playing Ratchet and Clank, and you know how certain games the cameras are inverted?
Yes.
Like you could still fix that, but it's just annoying because like your right is your left, your down is your up, and
I hate,
Yeah, if it isn't like a flying game off the bat, like I'm like, why are you inverted? Like, come on now.
I don't get the inversion. And hey, that's another thing. Donkey Kong 64 certainly is inverted as well.
oh
So,
really?
yeah.
I did not remember.
Yeah,
that.
especially if you go in that first person mode to shoot the like little whatever that coconut
So it's inverted?
cannons. Yeah, so like down is up is down. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I hate that. I can't.
And there's nothing worse, especially in those games now. Oh man, it's bringing up all the rage. But when you are behind the character and the camera gets fixed and the direction you were holding no longer applies, so you keep turning around once that camera switches, that little mechanic, I'm like, just stay on a fixed axis, you son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah. It's one of those things that I automatically, it just turns me off, and I gotta like pause the game, go to the camera options, and reverse it.
Mess
because and I'm like, why you do that? Why you do that? I just
yeah. So we can agree. I mean, N64 has terrible controls for jump. Right, Jim? C buttons don't save you there, do they, Jim?
Sure.
Jim, love you.
Begrudgingly. Anything for a day.
All right, and then for our final topic, and it's another recurring bit, we have overrated, underrated, and this week, this was strictly curiosity. I actually don't have a huge bias either way, but the Megaman franchise, it's something I think in general everyone always loves. I feel like a very small percentage actually went through and beat most of the games because they can be pretty damn hard. But it's one like I think we all be like, oh yeah, I love the soundtrack, but like you realize real quickly, I feel like a lot of them haven't played really past 2, and like it's one that's odd. Like not enough people played what everyone just generally talks about. So I wanted to see, is that franchise overrated or underrated? So I want to throw it out there.
Oh my god. I'm gonna get my husband against me. I don't know. In my point of view, I might say overrated, but it's easy for me to say it because I have no emotional attachment to it. I never got really into it. I never played much of the games, so I could care less about it. It's the same thing for Sonic. Like I just don't go Google Gaga for it because I could care less. If somebody enjoys it, then good for them. But I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. I was playing Sonic last time, and I had someone actually, "You're just hating on Sonic." I was like, "No, I just suck at Sonic. That's the different story. This is not the game for me." So yeah, that's my little piece of tea, a cup of tea of that.
I like Jim. What about you?
You know what? I want to go underrated just for the fact that I didn't grow up with Mega Man. I suck at Mega Man, like traditional Mega Man games. Like I've only played through a few. Like I am not deep into the series, but like there's all the offshoots too that people sleep on. Like I know Mega Man Soccer isn't that good, but like I know Battle Network is like an RPG series that people friggin' love. So like even if you don't like traditional Mega Man, you could always jump into that and. Like, you have like 10 games there of like turn-based RPGs that are like, from what I hear, pretty good. So I just think like people focus too much on obviously the ones that are known more. And like they're always well-made games. I just suck at them and don't have the patience for them. So I'll say underrated.
Yeah, I thinking about it, so I had said before, I played them all up until X. X was the like last one I had played. Me. More new, and I lost interest after X, and all those ones you just named, Jim. I didn't play Battle Networks or whatever. I haven't played.
A lot didn't.
Yeah, and it's one of those games where, for me, like the differences, number one, between the games, they weren't that crazy. You're like, oh, another boss, another general. Like, is this going to be a power that shields me? Does it make me move? Does it do like? You really run out of momentum after like 2 or 3, in my opinion. And even when they add in Zero and some of the other characters, it wasn't enough for it to feel like, wow, this is like a brand new experience. And I mentioned the soundtrack. Yes, they're all good, but I do think it peaked with 2. And I think, and that's not taking away. I know a lot of people like talk about 5, and some of them, they're great, but I don't know. It's just like 2 was where I was like, wow, okay, it maxed out there. Great game, but it's one of those ones where it does have that really annoying, the pixel perfect jumping, because there's lots of bullshitty jumps in there, the time stages, which were always annoying,
knockback,
and the knockback, and just the fact that like if you don't know the correct order of the bosses, the game is significantly harder than it needs to be. But then if you do get the right order, it almost is like not game breakingly easy. But, like, the bosses become a joke when you have those powers that you blast through. So then either the challenge is, like, no or way too hard. There's a very few in between. So for that, I'm going to say, like, the love that I hear for that is a bit overrated.
Okay.
And, like, with all those offshoots that they did, I think that kind of really spells out, like, it was a one-trick pony that in the 8-bit and 16-bit era lived on. But they tried to make newer ones. And they did okay, but they're not like everyone's not clamoring to keep getting more and more Mega Mans. So I think it's just a bit overrated.
Yeah. I think the same happens for Sonic in a way. And it's also because, like, I don't know even, but Sonic was more known in the 90s. Yeah. And truth be told, companies haven't done a really good job producing good games, that it kind of shrunk the community. So I feel like unless they step up on their A game and bring a true, good game, then we can see reactions more positive.
Well, that's just because Nintendo does what Sega don't.
Don't.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if y'all saw this last live stream. I saw it because
a Sonic
I watched
fan.
it, the Sonic Direct, yeah.
Somebody sent it to me because they wanted my opinion, and I told them it looks good, but at the end of the day, that's just a cinematic trailer. What I want to see is genuine gameplay, like raw footage gameplay, and then from there we can then critique the game realistically and say, okay, this is actually a good game or not, which I doubt they have ready, because if they just launched a cinematic trailer, it's probably still under development. They're still trying to polish some things out of the game or something.
Yeah, and like the whole Direct, like I talked to some people about this, like the hardcore Sonic community is like, oh, this Direct was like, this was the shit. It gave you everything. And for people who aren't hardcore Sonic fans, it was like, okay, like a remaster of colors and like 3 seconds of CGI. Like yeah, we do expect more because there hasn't been a new Sonic game in 4 years. So like if you're going to show something or like hype up this Direct, of course we're going to expect a little more, something more substantial. So it is what it is.
At least they got, at least I feel like it's positive news for the Sonic community. There's a game. We'll have to see.
Sonic is another. It is a one, and like you said, I mean, I loved all the Genesis ones, but like honestly, after that, it was a sharp decline, and it's one of those ones like without that, you needed that game so bad, and the historical context of what that did can never be overshadowed. But other than the diehards, no one's clamoring for a new Sonic game. It's it's a sad truth, and we don't. And the nostalgia, even in me, I'm like, damn, I love Sonic, but it's you should have just left it on the Genesis, let it go down with that ship. And they keep trying to milk it because that's the Sega, mascot. And yeah, like, okay, how many times do you need a super fast character that spins in a ball? That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, just keep making manias. No one likes 3D Sonic. Sorry to tell you, Sonic fans, no one likes it but you guys.
No, but like I said, yeah. So Mega Man, I feel like you could almost argue is in that same vein as Sonic. Like, yeah, it's great. It had its time, but leave it where it is with the nostalgia, with
fans.
the past. Exactly.
Yep. Or if you're going to release a new game, don't make it $40. Goddamn Mega Man 11. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to cut those prices. You can't be coming out like that. But no, with that, Crystal or Zap, I'm sorry, we should say thank you very much. I do want to say before we go, once again, shout out, where can everyone find you? And we will have the links below.
Thanks for having me. That was a fun talk for sure. Y'all can find me at ZapCristal/YouTube, and our live streams are Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, Saturdays at 1:30 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/ZapCristal. I'm all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. You can find me anywhere at this point. We're even on at TikTok, boys and girls. I can't believe it, but yeah, we made it to TikTok too. So yeah. And no, I'm not doing those cringy dance videos. So don't come expecting that.
I love it. No, we really appreciate you coming on, like I said, and be sure, go over, give her a follow. She really deserves it, and she puts a ton of effort. Unlike other channels, like, you should really just check out all of her content. Follow her on Twitch. And one other shout out I want to give is to everyone who did play along and do the No IPA May with Us contest. We will be announcing winners probably by next week. If you're watching this video, this actually will be June 2nd. So, the contest is over. We will select the winner. You'll get the code for Retromania, and a new shirt will be getting sent out to someone. So stay tuned for that announcement. And also, we are super close to a few milestones of our own. We're only 4 away from new followers on Twitch to get to 200. So please get over. If you support us here, head over there, just hit follow. Help
just
us get to
do it.
Yeah. and we are super close. I'm going to say let's get by the end of June. We're almost at 1 million views on YouTube. So definitely help spread the love. Get us there.
For the love of God, the algorithm isn't. Please, we need you.
The algorithm is hurting us. But yeah, no. So please help us hit those milestones. And with that, we want to say thank you to everyone. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers, everyone.